I'd like to give a quick overview about some thoughts I have about healthy eating habits. Do you know that what the state of health is in the United States? In 1990, 10% of the population was categorized as obese. In 2010, it was 35%. In fact, 70% of Americans fall into the categories from overweight to obese. As you can see here in this picture, as our computers have gotten smaller, we've been getting bigger. Over that same period of time, there has been an explosive increase in the number of gym memberships and the availability of fat-free and diet foods, and enrollment in weight loss programs, not to mention the increase in weight loss drugs and surgeries. Sadly, much of what's going on has to do with the introduction of toxins entering into our systems, in our air, in our water, and more at issue in the foods that we consume. Our tissues and organs react to these to these toxins. They're the chemicals in our artificial sweeteners, the pesticides used in our growing process, the hormones that are fed to animals. These Our organs basically protect themselves by holding on to fat. It's visceral fat that actually surrounds the organs as a reaction to these toxins coming into the system. These visceral fat and the toxins that are embedded in them are also the cause of many of these terrible health conditions that exist. As informed people, we are now realizing that your no-calorie Diet Coke is actually making you fat by harming your tissues and organs and causing the accumulation of this visceral fat. And I'm just using Diet Coke as the example here. So there's a couple of things going on there. When you drink something that your body sees as sweet, but it's not getting the sugar that it thought it gets, it's going to make you go out and eat other sweets. So that's one thing it does. And the other aspect, which is the more dangerous of the two, is that the chemicals in the Diet Coke is actually forcing the organs to try to protect themselves by accumulating this extra layer of fat. Oops. So you can actually look at body shapes to get clues into which organs are actually being damaged. So for example, your reproductive organs would show signs like down here in the thigh area. You can have kidney issues. Generally, the kidney issues is that fat in the gut that actually folds over your pants. Thyroid, you might see some extra shape up on the top part of your body. And your liver damage is usually it's that really hard fat that protrudes out forward from your stomach. So this is just some examples. There's many other potential organs that could be damaged. So how do we deal with this? First and foremost, we should avoid white flour. What is white flour? Well, when milled, all essential nutrients in this original grain are discarded. The entire wheat germ and the cellulose fiber is completely removed. The heat that is generated to crush the grain into flour destroys any vitamin or mineral, leaving white powder, really devoid of any life. This is actually a dead food. Manufacturers enrich it back with some vitamins and minerals, but it's clearly not enough. There are over 60 chemicals used to help the aesthetics of the shelf life of the flour. Chlorine is used to bleach the conventional flours to remove the smell and change the color. The flour is treated with chlorine dioxide, which removes all vitamin E and leaves a chemical, and it's a really difficult thing for me to say. I'll try dichlorosteric acid. Treating flour with chlorine creates chemical byproducts that have been known to react to other proteins and cause nervous system damage in human beings. So white flour is pretty much in everything. There are some alternatives out there, different breads that don't use white flour, or actually maybe don't use flour at all. So, for example, there are so this bread here, this Ezekiel bread, which I tend to like that one. That's done with actually wheat sprouts, and it's pretty good. So another thing to avoid is refined white sugar. Now, there is no nutritional value in refined sugars. Basically, eating refined sugar is addictive. It makes you fat. It makes you tired, depressed. It ages you faster. It makes your skin dull. It weakens your immunity. And when consumed in excess, contributes to many diseases such as high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart disease, brain, kidney, liver, or colon malfunction, diabetes, cancer, and this list goes on and on and on. You really should not buy, consume, or keep products in your house with these following ingredients, and this is a long list: barley malt, beet sugar, brown sugar, buttered syrup, caramel, carob syrup, corn syrup solids, and you just kind of go through all these things. It's a long list of and definitely read the labels to see if these are included. None of them are good. High fructose corn syrup, I know that's been beaten up a lot in the news very recently. And of course, don't replace these sugars with artificial sweeteners like aspartame, saccharin, and sucralose. These are actually carcinogenic chemicals. Stay away from those as well. Instead, there's pure cane sugar, there's coconut sugar, date sugar, real maple syrup. I actually use very, very small amounts of stevia. Be careful with stevia. You make sure that it's 100% pure. Very often you'll see companies will make it mostly stevia, but then they'll add some of those artificial sweeteners in there for taste, so be very careful about that, but stevia is quite good. And very important, when someone brings in the bagels or the donuts in your office, say thanks, but say no thanks. Avoid these things at all costs. Get people out of the habit of bringing these bad foods into your office. All right. Another thing to avoid is really anything artificial. Artificial sweeteners, coloring, dyes, chemicals, pretty much anything you can't pronounce. If I have to ask what is that or why is that in there, please don't consume it. And don't be fooled by natural flavors. That could actually mean anything. Natural flavors could be a bug, for all you know. I mean, it's just, something that occurs naturally in the world, but it doesn't mean it's good for you. So watch out for that. These can be toxic. And it's not just the food that we have to worry about. Antiperspirants, avoid any antiperspirant. Aluminum is linked to Alzheimer's, right? So you want to stick with only deodorants, that doesn't contain aluminum. Look at all your cosmetics, see what's in there. Wear gloves when you're using these cleaning products, and if possible, seek out more friendly cleaners. I mean, your skin is your largest organ, and certainly, toxins can enter the system through your skin. A lot of talk about organic. Why is that important? Well, with proper compliance, organic fruits and vegetables are not grown with pesticides. Organic dairy and meats do not have hormones. They will not have genetically modified organisms, and they will not have they won't have the toxic flour and sugar in there. But regardless, always read the labels, no matter what it says. In terms of the marketing and the packaging, just make sure that you're always reading the labels. Basically, a simple approach here is to read labels. Take on the idea of smart and healthy eating. Know your daily calorie burn. Most of us, burn somewhere naturally, 15, 16, maybe 1,800 calories per day. Athletes obviously would be burning more, but know what your burn is. You don't have to deprive yourself. You can have sweets and pasta and pizza, but pay attention to the ingredients. I mean, pizza without bleached white flour is quite good, and sweets made with cane sugar is pretty good. So, and it doesn't taste different. In some ways, it tastes better. You should take on exercise, cardiovascular and weight exercise. So while cardiovascular is fantastic for your heart, weight is fantastic for building muscle, and muscle burns fat. And that's a good thing. You should absolutely consider taking supplements as well. Which supplements you take will vary by person, so it's good to talk to your doctors about that. But you're not necessarily going to get everything you need through your basic diet, so supplementation's a good thing. Know your ideal weight. That's sort of important. When you put on a lot of weight, your body starts to think about itself, and I'm using the body almost as a thinker, but your body starts to think about yourself as being at the higher weight, and so it's certainly not your ideal weight, but your body kind of holds itself at that level, and largely it's because of this visceral fat issue, and it becomes part of who you are. So it's good to know what your ideal weight is, and and it's not a bad idea to go through a detox to get these toxins out of your system and get that visceral fat no longer around your organs. And it's also a very good practice to weigh yourself every day to see, what is it that you're doing on a day-to-day basis that may have implications to your health. So that's just a quick and dirty statement. I hope you found that interesting. And, healthy eating to everybody.